I remember the day they turned their backs on me, laughter echoing through the halls of our home like a sinister choir. My family, once my supporters, became my greatest adversaries the moment I dared to speak of necrobotany. "You'll lose your mind," my mother warned, her voice tinged with a mix of concern and disdain. "This obsession of yours is unhealthy. What a disgrace you'll bring to this family." My father's dismissive snort was like a knife, carving away any last remnants of hope I had for their understanding. "You're delusional, a fool chasing ghosts in the soil." But they didn't know what I had seen. The truth buried beneath the surface, hidden in the dark corners of the earth. I sought to prove that death could be a source of life, that the cycle of existence was not so straightforward. Years passed, and with each failed attempt to share my research with the world, I felt the weight of their ridicule. Friends vanished, colleagues mocked me, and yet I pressed on. I scoured graveyards and forgotten battlefields, collecting samples of fungi and flora that thrived in the presence of decay. I learned to listen to the whispers of the earth. The secrets it held. I became something they couldn't fathom, a guardian of truths cloaked in horror. When I returned home, I was not the same timid child who had left. I wore my knowledge like a shroud, heavy and suffocating, but powerful. I had become renowned, a figure of both fascination and fear in the scientific community. My discoveries, the grotesque beauty of plants thriving on the corpses of animals, the bizarre symbiosis between life and death, had made me a pariah in the eyes of many, yet a savior to those who dared to listen. I was no longer mocked, I was a warning. I stood outside my childhood home, the familiar scent of rain-soaked earth bringing back memories of simpler times. I could hear my family inside, their voices a chorus of disbelief and derision. "Can you believe they're back?" My sister's voice cut through the air. "What a waste of time. They think they can just waltz in here with their crazy ideas?" I pushed the door open, the creak of the hinges sounding like a funeral dirge. The warmth of the living room felt suffocating against the chill of my new reality. My family turned to face me, their expressions a mix of surprise and disdain. They were more than willing to roll their eyes at the notion of my ridiculous obsession. But the moment I stepped into the light, the air shifted. "Look what the cat dragged in," my brother sneered. But his bravado wavered as he caught a glimpse of the shadows at my back. "What is that?" I stepped forward, revealing the small terrarium I carried, a glass box housing the very essence of my work. Inside, the plants twisted and writhed, their roots entwined like skeletal fingers. They glowed faintly, an ethereal light illuminating the darkness within the glass. "This," I said, my voice steady, "is what I've discovered. This is necrobotany." Their laughter died in their throats as I lifted the terrarium closer. "Plants sustained by death," I explained, watching their faces pale. "And they carry secrets that the living cannot comprehend." "What are you talking about?" My mother's voice trembled. "You're sick. This isn't right." I ignored her, my eyes locked on my father, who had always been the hardest to convince. "You think I'm delusional? You think I'm a disgrace?" I pressed, stepping closer. "You have no idea what I've faced, what I've survived. These plants," I gestured to the terrarium, "they're not just flora. They're vessels of knowledge, of pain, of everything we fear." Suddenly, the plants began to shift, their roots stretching toward the glass, as if eager to escape their confines. The air thickened, a palpable tension crackling like static electricity. My family stepped back, fear creeping into their eyes. "What's happening?" my sister whispered, her bravado evaporating. The terrarium trembled, and with it, the shadows in the corners of the room deepened, coiling like serpents. I felt a surge of power, a connection to the very essence of life and death. "This is what you mocked," I said, my voice rising above the chaos. "This is the truth you refused to see." The plants surged, breaking free of the terrarium, their roots stretching out like grasping hands. They began to weave through the floorboards, drawing energy from the very foundations of the house. My family screamed. Their laughter turned to horror as the shadows wrapped around them. "What have you done?" my father shouted, his bravado shattered. "I've shown you the truth," I whispered, feeling the weight of my knowledge settle over me like a crown. "You wanted to laugh? Now you will understand the cost of your disbelief." As the shadows swallowed them, I stood resolute, the terror of what I had unleashed twisting in my chest. I had become the harbinger of the forgotten, the guardian of the secrets they had mocked. And in that moment, I realized the irony of it all. They had turned away from the darkness, only to be consumed by it. When the chaos subsided, I stood alone in the silence of the house. The terrarium lay shattered, remnants of the plants scattered like the broken dreams of my family. I had returned not just as a researcher, but as a warning, an echo of the horrors that lay beneath the surface, waiting for those who dared to dismiss them. As I stepped outside, the weight of my victory felt heavy, a bittersweet reminder of the cost of truth. They had mocked me, but now they would never forget the lesson I had learned. Sometimes, the deepest